Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW.
Bull is a big sport here. I mean, believe it or not. I mean, you could go into other places and you'll see trophies on the walls, you know, everywhere, just about everywhere. So, yeah, he has all their support.
It's a story you'll find only on CBS7. One local 16-year-old is representing his sport at an international competition. But it's not your average sport, and it's not the Olympics. In just a few minutes, we'll hear how Robert Orta will play billiards for Team USA at the 2024 Predator World Championships. Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Mary Kate Hamilton. We start tonight in Midland, where a contract worker was burned in a fire at a booster station owned by Phillips 66. The incident happened at a Diamondback oil lease near the intersection of Barcelona and Ivory. This is in the southern part of Ector County. According to officials, the man suffered second and third degree burns. He was airlifted to Lubbock for treatment. The fire is reportedly contained, and he is said to be doing well. Today, the Odessa Lynx had a presentation at their citywide meeting to address homelessness in the community. They introduced a new plan. Several nonprofits in the Odessa and Midland area came to discuss their challenges, and they filled out surveys discussing the top 3 most needed items to help the unhoused community. The plan that was introduced uses data-driven, decision-making, person-centered care and trauma-informed care to address homelessness effectively and get them back in the workforce. However, the biggest current concern in the homeless community is not having enough resting stations.
Howard said, the director of Ector County Library, our unsheltered neighbors are settling in the first floor. And so we need to communicate with other agencies and come up with resting stations.
The whole goal from that point is to bring them back into the workforce where they're working and a normal citizen again. So it's not just a quick help, it's a path to bring these people back into our society.
The Homeless Coalition and Odessa Lynx want to host more citywide meetings to take action more effectively and gather more ideas to help the homeless organization.
What's going to help us when we all combine, when we all network together, is that when we start doing an assessment, everyone's input is going to help out on that assessment.
The next Homeless Coalition citywide meeting will be on October 10th. We're going to tuck your weather forecast now. A nice evening out there, nice and clear. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller. Tom?
Yes, we are looking at pretty quiet conditions. Satellite and radar view at the present time shows a few clouds continuing across parts of the extreme eastern Permian Basin. That's about it out there. You're probably seeing those clouds in that red sunset we had a little bit earlier. Temperatures warmed up today. We saw plenty of 90s out there this afternoon, all the way up to 95 in Wink, Monahans, 96 in Pecos, 97 down in Presidio, one of the hot spots this afternoon. We cooled off a little bit. Still have some of those hazy skies to deal with temperatures into the upper 80s to right at 90 degrees across the western Permian Basin and over towards the Pecos area. And humidity levels trying to drop off a little bit, but still up there some across the area. So just a touch of humidity to deal with currently. That's going to be the case overnight tonight as we see generally clear skies down around 69, but it looks like temperatures even hotter coming up tomorrow. And a big heat wave looks to be on the way. We'll talk a little more about that and the weekend here coming up in a few minutes.
We turn now to a story that's only on CBS7. Born and raised in Odessa, Texas, 16-year-old Robert Orta has been playing billiards since he can remember. Now in September, he'll represent the U.S. at the 2024 Predator WPA World Junior Championship in New Zealand. While other kids picked up regular UIL sports, Robert picked up a pool stick. He practices up to 5 hours a day right now, but plans to even up his hours as the competition nears. At last year's Junior Nationals, Robert placed second in 8-ball and fifth in 9-ball. Last week, Robert was in Illinois for a competition that qualified him to attend the championship in New Zealand as a player for Team USA.
The top 3 winners or finalists were qualified for sure to go to New Zealand, and I got second place. It's nerve-wracking, but I'm excited. I'm very excited because it's a good experience. I just find it my happy place. Like I could go there, just have fun, get my mind off things. And that's what I just like to do. Like, it's my passion.
For more on Robert, his pool journey, and how you can support him, you can go to our website, CBS7.com. In education news, Midland ISD announced its free school meals program is expanding. Schools that qualify for the community eligible program will serve breakfast and lunch to all children at no charge. Midland ISD schools that qualify this upcoming year are all of their elementary schools and the pre-K academy at Midland College. All IDEA schools in Texas will also serve free meals to kids this year. They're not free kids. This will not only provide nutritious meals to children, but will also eliminate the meal applications for parents. The schools included are IDEA Travis in Midland and IDEA Yukon in Odessa. Local businessman and community leader Brian Stubbs has officially announced he's running for Midland City Council District 1. Stubbs is the president and owner of Air Compressor Solutions, and his vision for Midland includes supporting the oil and gas industry, making roads safer, prioritizing fiscal responsibility, supporting public safety, continuing the revitalization of downtown Midland, and improving overall quality of life. Midland City Councilwoman Robin Poole has filed for re-election for the City Council at-large spot. Poole released a statement that read in part, quote, "While significant progress has been made, there is still work to be done. Our community needs strong, experienced leadership to uphold our community's conservative principles and ensure our city remains a great place to live, work, and raise a family," end quote. President Biden made his first extensive remarks tonight about his decision to step down from his re-election efforts. He has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for the Democratic presidential nomination. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry reports from Washington.
I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy.
In a primetime Oval Office address, President Biden spoke to the nation about his decision to drop out of the 2024 presidential race.
So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation.
When he announced over the weekend that he's no longer seeking re-election, Biden threw his full support behind Vice President Kamala Harris for the nomination.
The defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people.
President Biden, who stepped down under intense pressure following his poor debate performance last month, says he plans on staying in office until the next president is inaugurated in January.
They'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose.
In Charlotte, North Carolina, former President Donald Trump held his first rally since President Biden exited the race.
But really what happened was the leaders of the Democrat Party, in a very undemocratic move, the bosses, they said either you get out or we're going to throw you out using the 25th Amendment. That's what happened, you know that.
On Thursday, Vice President Harris is set to deliver a keynote address in Houston to the annual meeting of the American Federation of Teachers. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Biden called this election year one of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now determine the fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. New survey data shows Vice President Kamala Harris polling better against former President Trump than President Biden did earlier this year. However, it did not show a clear leader between Trump and Harris. The CNN poll was conducted by SSRS after Biden ended his re-election bid, and the survey of registered voters nationwide showed Trump with 49% support, Harris with 46%. That is within the margin of error. It found voters are widely supportive of both Biden's decision to step aside and his choice to remain in office through the end of his term. The poll also showed Democratic and Democratic-leaning voters are broadly enthusiastic about Harris. However, they are deeply divided on whether Biden's Democratic successor should continue his policies or chart a new course. Texas Democrats are trying to block independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from getting on the state's ballot. They claim most of the signatures on Kennedy's ballot petition fail to meet Texas state requirements. Independent presidential candidates must submit just over 113,000 valid signatures to qualify for the ballot. While in May, Kennedy's campaign announced it submitted more than 245,000 signatures. But in a letter to Texas Secretary of State Jay Nelson, Democrats claim enough of those signatures violate state laws to render his petition invalid. The Texas Secretary of State's office and the Kennedy campaign did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Earlier this week, 273 delegates from the state of Texas met virtually to discuss how the upcoming Democratic National Convention will work. They voted nearly unanimously to endorse Vice President Harris.
Everything's bigger in Texas, right? So our Texas delegation is the third largest in the country. So this was a really big, exciting meeting, and it gave us good direction.
The party's Rules Committee will meet this evening to finalize the convention's rules. Right now, they plan to vote virtually for the nominee before the event begins in August. Still ahead, more details emerge on the would-be assassin who shot Donald Trump. Stay with us. FBI Director Christopher Wray testifies before Congress as lawmakers delve into the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. Our Washington News Bureau correspondent Brendan Cullerton breaks down what came out of the hearing.
Congress is still looking for answers about how a gunman was able to get a clean shot at former President Trump, but we are learning more about the shooter's activity leading up to Trump's rally. One day after the resignation of former Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle, Congress continued to dig into a historic security failure.
6:09 when the shooter's identified on the roof, and 6:14 when President Trump is ultimately escorted off, and all that happens, the shots that take place in between there. Do you have access to the communications that were going on at the time?
The FBI says investigating the security failure is not their current objective, and they cannot currently speak to it.
Our investigation, the FBI's mandate, is focused on the shooter and all things related to his attack.
FBI Director Christopher Wray says 20-year-old Thomas Crooks did not leave any sort of major clues to his motive, like a manifesto, but they are piecing together his actions leading up to the shooting.
July 6th, he did a Google search for, quote, how far away was Oswald from Kennedy?
That search came 1 week before the rally, the same day Crooks registered to attend. The FBI also relayed Crooks visited the rally site multiple times before the event, flew a drone over the site and made 3 explosives he never detonated.
Relatively crude devices themselves, but they did have the ability to be detonated remotely.
The transmitter for the explosives were found on Crook's body, but the FBI believes the devices were not turned on at the time of the shooting. In Washington, I'm Brendan Cullerton.
Well, we are going to be looking at a warming trend here over the next few days as temperatures get back to summer levels. We'll talk about that. Get you ready for your weekend, too, up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, the satellite and radar view this evening showing everything really calming down. There were a few clouds this evening right across the Permian Basin, but nothing developing into showers and thunder showers. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case here over the next few days, as we're going to see a quiet radar as we take a look at our live iCam in Odessa right now. A little bit of haze at sunset. Temperatures have cooled off a little bit into the upper 80s now, so still on the warm side. 90s hanging on out across the western Permian Basin over towards the Pecos area and also along the Rio Grande. Now, your weather makers showing a big area of high pressure back across the western U.S. This is going to be moving off to the east very slowly here over the next few days before it really sets up shop right over West Texas coming up on next week, I should say, and that is going to really heat things up. Now, with the clockwise flow around this, we have wildfires burning in eastern Washington and Oregon up into portions of western Canada. A lot of that smoke's being pushed in by these north to northeast winds in the upper levels, and that's causing for slightly hazy conditions and also very red sunsets across the area. As we take a look at the satellite and radar view, this high pressure is also going to keep a lot of tropical moisture off to our east and southeast. That's where the showers and thunder showers really have popped up today from southeast Texas down towards the coastal bend and deep south Texas, and has had an effect on temperatures, keeping things not too bad with 81 in Brownsville, 85 in the Houston area, and 87 in San Antonio. while we're getting into the 90s, a lot of other locations. Now, Futurecast, this is pretty quiet here over the next 24 hours as we're not seeing too much other than a few clouds developing in the afternoon, both Thursday and into Friday. So not expecting anything in the way of rain. Wouldn't be surprised to see an isolated storm in the mountain areas, really about it. So another quiet overnight. Upper 60s on the way, and then for tomorrow we're going to be seeing those temperatures into the lower to mid 90s out there and approaching 100 degrees across parts of the western Permian Basin out towards Pecos and Presidio coming up tomorrow afternoon. Your CBS7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast shows the real heat holding off until next week. That's when high pressure is going to cause temperatures to approach 100 degrees and keep rain out of our forecast. So right now looking good outdoors this weekend. Just find a little shade and you should be okay.
A historic and controversial visit from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What Senate Republicans have to say about it is up next. It's been 292 days since Hamas launched its attack on Israel, catapulting the region into a bloody conflict. Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu came to Capitol Hill to plead with lawmakers. It comes at a particularly fraught moment for American politics. Our Molly Martinez has more.
Ahead of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's historic and controversial visit to the United States Capitol, Senate Republicans are turning the blame on U.S. leadership, specifically Vice President and presumptive Democratic nominee Kamala Harris.
Not having the Vice President presiding over a joint session of Congress with our closest ally in the Middle East present, that's a disgrace.
Vice President and likely Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris sat out Netanyahu's joint address to Congress, instead hitting the campaign trail in Indiana. She's not the only one making a statement through absence. Nearly half of House Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, opted out. Outside, protests of a louder decibel lined the Capitol's perimeter. Inside, Prime Minister Netanyahu made the plea for continued American support, both in money and munitions.
Fast-tracking U.S. military aid can dramatically expedite an end to the war in Gaza and help prevent a broader war in the Middle East.
Netanyahu will round out his stint in the U.S. with a one-on-one with President Biden Thursday. Senate Republican Markwayne Mullin says Netanyahu also has a meeting planned with former President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. In Washington, I'm Molly Martinez.
Still ahead, it's not Taco Tuesday, but one taco-shaped fossil discovery may be responsible for the majority of the jaw structure of over 50% of the world. We have those details coming up next. Scientists say it's thanks to this strange taco-shaped creature that 2/3 of animals today have the type of jaws they do. In this case, we're talking about mandibles or pincer-like jaws. Now, these weren't nearly as common 508 million years ago. It's a pretty long time. When the Odaria alata roamed the earth. Okay, let me explain. This aquatic shrimp-like arthropod was the focus of a new analysis of fossils published Wednesday in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society B. The researchers examined the secrets under the animal's taco-like shell and found the first solid evidence that it had mandibles. They determined it likely found food in the open ocean, not just near the seafloor. So I guess this is a significant discovery, Tom.
I guess it is. I tell you, that's one thing. Archaeology, geology from back then. A lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I guess this was a pressing question. Why are animals' jaws shaped the way that they are? And as we know, a lot of those answers can be found in the ocean.
And to describe an animal as taco-shaped, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, I guess it fits.
I guess it does anyway. Well, they wouldn't like what we're dealing with here in the Permian Basin because it is hot, and it's going to stay hot, especially into next week. What do you expect, though, in July?
Yep.
We expect this.
Yeah, we're used to it. So find some shade, get some water bottles, and hopefully everyone can enjoy the latter half of their week.
Go.
All right, thanks, everyone, for watching CBS 7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news coming up tonight at 10.